most of what you see here was already in an email to you. With the support of the MDE, has submitted a plan to USDA for pandemic EBT cards for Mississippi students. Very simply, it's students who are eligible for free and reduced meals, and it's also schools that were closed for some period of time or had reduced hours or had reduced attendance due to COVID-19. Again, this was in the email. It's a two-step process. Someone in your district will complete a survey that DHS is DHS is administering. We have sent you the link to that. And then probably your MSIS coordinator, that's who we targeted, will upload a file to OTSS SharePoint site. And we'll jump into the things that we've been asked so far. We'll try to field as many of your questions as we can today. I can't promise we have all the answers, but if we don't, we will get back with you. Will this be recorded? Yes, we're recording it. We hope we are. That is our goal. The red light's on, so I think it is recording. We do have a process we have to go through to get it uploaded to the web, but we'll get that out as soon as we can. I had a question about what about new free and reduced applications? Yes, if you get any right now, you can process them. Even though the school year has ended for you, it is still the USDA school year. So if somebody comes in with a free and reduced app, you may process it. You can determine their eligibility. They can go in the file. And this actually would be helpful for getting benefits to as many eligible children as possible. One of the barriers to the late plan and kind of where we are right now is we know a number of, we don't know how many, but we know some parents did not apply for benefits last year because they never reached the cutoff mark where they would have had to reapply because they were still in that carryover period during August. Then, of course, we switched to summer and nobody needed to apply because they were already getting free benefits. Everybody was. So then the other piece is you may have had people who would normally have swapped to free or reduced during the school year. Again, no need to apply on their behalf because they were still getting benefits. Your direct certification lists have continued to roll on. We hope you've done that import. That'll capture a large number of the children who would be free. If you got applications during registration time, and we know some of you did a great job with that, that's fantastic. You got a lot of kids there. But yes, you can do them now. How you kind of publish this or advertise it is a district decision. If you want to make a public announcement, you just got to know that you have the means to process those applications. It may get around by word of mouth, but we want to make sure as many kids who are eligible get the benefits. So try to leave it open so that no one loses benefits or misses that opportunity. We had a number of questions about CEP. On some of these slides, I put two together because they're very closely related. In this question, we're a CEP district. Do we have to import our entire population? And does anything need to be submitted? And the answer for both of those is yes. Everybody in a CEP school is eligible, so upload all of the students. If you were approved, and this goes to schools that were approved for CEP during that short window before we switched to summer. Even if you went and retroactively claimed summer, you were approved for CEP this school year, 2020-2021, so all students are considered free. As a side note, and this isn't directly related to your work, but is related to this process, be sure that whoever is filling out that survey includes information for all schools. You don't, just typing in all schools doesn't get everybody qualified. You have to fill out the survey. If you have 4 sites, fill out 4 surveys, even though you're all CEP and all free. This is based on school level. They have to determine if the school is eligible and the children are eligible. So be sure that whoever fills that out knows to fill it out for every school in the district. Really, in some ways, the same question. Do I have to import our entire student population to the spreadsheet? Let's see here. Is it only SNAP children? No, it's everybody in a CP school. It's really the same answer. If you were CEP, everybody's free. Everybody should be uploaded into the OTSS SharePoint site in that Excel spreadsheet. Provision 2. Provision 2 wasn't specifically mentioned in the memo before. Provision 2 students, much like CEP students, are all considered free. But it has to be provision for lunch. Okay, so if you're provisioned for breakfast only, those students are not all free, but if you're provisioned for lunch, provision 2 or 3, all those students are free. They all go into the upload. I'm going to pause 1 second. All righty, folks. We're going to come back to questions probably in the end. I see whoever had their hand up lowered. I hope I answered their question, but we'll have kind of open session at the end. Okay, if we can move slides, I'll move slides. Okay, here we go. And this, I think, was the next question. Are charter schools eligible? Absolutely. Charter schools may not have shown up in the survey originally. MDHS has updated the survey. All the charter schools are included, and a number of other schools that are not normally public schools are included on the survey now. So if you didn't see yourself before, go out, refresh that page, and I think you'll see you're in the survey. This is a long one, so hang on with me. And the question is about changing their status, the rollover for next year, what's it going to do to me? Well, you can read the question there. Probably you're okay. We anticipate that every school will participate in the seamless summer option next school year. There's increased reimbursement. It's very similar to NSLP, and there's no requirement to collect free and reduced applications. So it's kind of a win-win-win for you guys to work on the seamless summer option. If you're using the seamless summer option, the carryover won't matter. If for some reason you're not going to use the seamless summer option, contact me directly. I'll tell you why you really should first. And if you still don't want to, we'll work with you. But I think everybody will be in SSO, and this will be really a moot point right here. It won't matter what's in the system because everybody's going to be participating free. How do I upload my file? Well, that's the part I can't help you with, unfortunately. That is an OTSS function. They are the SharePoint people. There's the contact information, and there were instructions included with Dr. Wright's email. Hopefully those will help. If they didn't get a SharePoint invitation, MDEnet listed down there is who to contact, and they can get everybody set up and rolling. All right, so since I'm a non-public school, will somebody contact me like last year? And then we're a small private school with no access to MSIS. MDHS is going to contact non-public schools directly because we don't have the MSIS contact, like you say, for them. So you'll be getting an email from MDHS. Be on the lookout for that. And Rob or Brienne may be able to share a little more information on that shortly. At this point, if I can work the technology and get everybody unmuted like they're supposed to be, we're going to try to unmute Rob and Brienne. And actually, guys, I think y'all are eligible to unmute yourselves right now.
We are.
There you go. Two fantastic folks from Human Services.
Go on.
There you go. MDHS administers the survey, and they also are going to determine the school eligibility based on the number of days closed, the number of hours, etc. So they're really good at answering these kind of questions. They're kind of the experts on this one. And I've got a number of slides that we'll roll through. And Rob and Brienne, just kind of hold on. I know you're getting cold on some of these, but answer as best you can. And if we have things we can't answer, we'll double back with somebody. And there's your first slide, guys.
All right. If I don't know if some folks are joining via phone, so I'll read the questions. On the survey, we have to mark that we were closed or had reduced attendance and select the months. This does not apply to our schools. How do I proceed?
Yeah, I would say that if your school has not missed 5 consecutive days, you haven't had any reduced attendance, you haven't shortened any of your school days, you haven't reduced your hours, you haven't done anything like that, then you probably do not have to complete the survey, because more than likely your child is not going to be eligible. Your children, your your NSLP children are not going to be eligible during the normal school year. However, what I would say is that there is a summer EBT option that is potentially available to the state, that we're all in the process of evaluating right now. So I would strongly encourage you to go ahead and send over all of your NSLP eligible children on the file to us. That way, in the event that we are approved for the summer option, we're going to have to move really quick on it. So that way we'd already have your school children information, because they would essentially all be eligible. Does that sound right to you, Rob?
Absolutely. Perfect. And whoever asked the question, if you're on the line, just let us know if we answered your question, or if we need to get some more clarity to you. Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to the second question. I have one school that closed for 8 days due to COVID. Do I mark January or February, because it crossed the months, as the first month of closure or reduction in attendance?
I would say you would mark January, because it started in January.
The entire district was virtual the first week in January. Came back 1 week late from Christmas break, but technically only students would have been in school for 4 days that week. Would this be a reason for eligibility?
So
give us a sec.
Let me think on this one. I want to make sure that if there was no reduced attendance, the entire district was virtual the first week in January. They came back 1 week late from Christmas. So that would be a delayed start. And Scott, that may be something that Sean has given us a little bit more insight to with the delayed start. But I know that it does. You do have to have those 5 days or reduced attendance or hours
For 5 consecutive days.
Mm-hmm.
So if those, can you back up on that slide, please? Back up 2 slides. Yeah. Okay, so looks like 1 week they were virtual the first week, but that week was only 4 days. So you would not meet the 5-day threshold in that case. However, if at any period throughout the entire school year there was five days consecutive, then from that point forward, the school would be eligible.
And I guess I'll add to that the 5 days the reduced hours, reduced attendance, that only has to be met once for this entire school year.
That's right.
So in the event that your school was delayed, had a delayed start in August, then you don't have to also you don't have to have another 5 days or reduction in January. You would, that August would carry you through the entire school year.
Through May.
Right.
Okay. Let me see. On the chat line, Tammy asked, our district dismissed at 2 o'clock every day to accommodate virtual students. So do all students qualify?
And so I think that this round of PEBT, the FNS added a lot more restrictions and such to us. So it's definitely not as clear cut as last time. So the way that I think of this is that you have to meet the first hurdle, which is you have to have those 5 consecutive days and reduced hours, or reduced hours or attendance. Once you've met that, then what we're going to do is we're going to look and see if you have over 51% of your NSLP eligible children, or not NSLP, if you have 51% of your children at your school that were virtual or hybrid, we would then want to look at that. And the children are going to be eligible for PEBT based off of that 51% number. So if you've got 51% of children that are learning virtually, then all National School Lunch Program children are going to be eligible for PEBT benefits. However, if only 49% were learning virtually, and you had no hybrid, you only had 49% virtual, 51% in person. At that point, because your 51% were in person, none of the children would be eligible. So I think I may have went too far on that question. So sorry if I'm.
Believe me, it's confusing for everybody. One thing I would like to say that I've seen in a few of the chat questions, and there on the chart, the weather-related closures, snow days, power outages, and that they do not count to make you eligible or make the school eligible for the PEBT. It is only closures, reduced hours, virtual learning, all that due to COVID, due to your response to COVID. So I hope that answers some of those questions. The slide there says we were in school the entire year except for the first week of August and the snow days. Will our families qualify?
I think it's important to note that we are looking at that 51% of virtual or hybrid, because that's what's going to, even if your school was open all year and you had in-person attendance for 49% of the kids, but 51% were virtual, then you do qualify because you had 51% of the students learning virtually. So even though the school was open, even though there were some kids in the seats, as long as 51% were learning virtually or learning on a hybrid model, then your school would be eligible. Now, if 100% of your kids were at school every day, those children are not going to be eligible.
Well, and the hybrid also accounts for, excuse me, if you had a 2-on, 2-off schedule, or some combination of that, an A/B schedule where some kids came in, half a day, they went home, the other kids came in half a day, then that would also help you qualify for the hybrid.
Yeah, and I see a bunch of questions popping up in the chat about hybrid. So
We'll try and get to everybody.
so if you definitely want to calculate the hybrid and the virtual versus the in-person. But we do need to know which rate or which learning mode had more. So if there were more hybrid than virtual, we need to know that, because we're going to issue benefits based off of there's going to be one amount for schools that had a predominant amount of kids in the hybrid model and a different amount for schools that had a predominant amount in the virtual models. So we do need to know which one had the most.
Sue Ellen, I can see you. If you can hear me, would you raise your hand real quick? Thank you. Yeah, I'm working on two devices, one for the presenting, one for the talking, so sorry about that. I'm going to add 2 bits of information here, and I hope my friends at DHS will correct me if I go astray. Keep in mind when this rolls out, because of what Brianne just mentioned, if you had different schools that were on different modes of learning, say your high school was hybrid, but your elementary was all virtual or vice versa, when those benefits come out, they're probably going to be different for those students based on what the school did. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind for down the road.
Yeah, it's definitely school level data.
And then this first question up here, I think the question was probably asking about what some people have called choice learners. If your school was in session, but you had 6,000 kids, but 150 of them chose to stay at home for COVID, and that they were choice learners is an expression I've heard a lot. Yeah, those schools are not going to be eligible because it would be such a small number of the students who were not in person in the seats and going to school every day.
Yeah,
And this
it wouldn't meet that 51% threshold.
Yeah, this question about August, I think probably the key there is if it was COVID related delay and it was more than 5 days, that school qualifies. And if it wasn't, if it was due to the water being off, that's a different issue.
Right.
I know in JPS, it's bless y'all who've had water issues from the city all year. All right, we'll move on to the next one, I hope. There we go.
I'm looking at the chat real quick. Okay. If our school was closed 5 days for weather, are we eligible to participate? Again, weather does not qualify. It's just COVID related. If the entire school was not shut down for 5 consecutive days, but certain buildings were for COVID-19, can we participate under reduced attendance? Yes, if it caused 51% of, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brianne.
I don't understand certain buildings. And I think this goes back to where if you're talking about, well, our school was not shut down, but we shut down our superintendent's office, then I don't think that qualifies. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by certain buildings, but if there were children, if children in your school did not have access to free or reduced lunch because they were shut down for 5 consecutive days, then they would be eligible. I said that right?
Well, it was, I guess maybe the question's not exactly clear to us what the situation was, but it's, reduced attendance for 5 consecutive days would qualify, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and then then yes, you can participate, but then it has to be 51%. You have to meet the 51% threshold for the number of students that were not at school and able to receive the free and reduced price lunch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if the gym was shut down because of COVID, but everybody's coming to school, it doesn't qualify. But if they had to shut down the whole middle school building in an attendance center, it's more than 50% of your kids, you qualify. I think those are maybe examples that would actually hit the schools.
Thank you, Scott.
Point of contact. Well, of course, you got us here at the Office of Child Nutrition. We'll help you with anything free, reduced, and eligibility wise, and anything else that we can. For the data transfers, the SharePoint, MDE.net again. A little earlier, you had contact information for Rob and Brianne for more specific questions if you run into about, do I meet that 51% threshold? They're super helpful on that. And with that, I'm going to try to look at the chat as well.
Yeah, okay. Let's get to the chat. Joanne Martin asked about seniors that recently graduated, and the answer to that is yes, they would be eligible for the previous school year as well as summer PEBT should that program come to fruition.
I don't know if this one's been answered, and I'm speaking on behalf of DHS. Sorry about that. Benefits will go out later this summer, maybe sometime starting in July. Is that right?
It's kind of predicated on when our plan is approved by FNS. So the third-party provider of benefits, once the plan gets approved and the contract is signed with them, then a certain amount of time after that, however long it takes for them to get stood up and ready to issue benefits. So yeah, I would hope the latter part of July.
There was a question about
not be shared with parents though, because it's all predicated on us getting call centers stood up and things of that nature. And we don't want anybody to feel like they're not getting their benefits because we're still in the process of getting things set up. So we do ask that be kept close to the vest.
There was a question about 5 consecutive days early, but more kids came back later. Once the school qualifies, the school qualifies. So once they're in, and DHS will do the calculations and kick out the benefits accordingly. But yes, once they qualify, and I think the question is something like, when did the closure or reduced attendance, reduced hours begin? And that's the importance of that question. It will help them calculate how many months those children are eligible for benefits. I'm going to add something about completing the survey, and Brianne and Rob, y'all correct me if I'm wrong here. Personally, I'd love to see everybody complete the survey just by virtue of the fact we know that you've replied, we know that you weren't forgotten. And
absolutely. Certainly
upload the students, as Brianne mentioned earlier, upload the students regardless, because they very well may be used for summer PEBT, and everybody will be ahead of the ball game and not trying to catch up at the end.
Upload the NSLP eligible.
Correct.
Only. We don't want everybody.
Yes.
We'd be in big fat trouble.
There was a question about serving lines through the drive-through. The school was closed, or you were virtual at that time. So that school would indeed qualify, because we know, and this, I'm kind of going to the background of the program, even though some students received meals, we know many students did not receive meals during that time. So that school would qualify.
Scott, there was a question from Julia Connolly. We are not Provision 2 or CEP. Even though all were free this year, it doesn't count. Can you
if I'm understanding the question, free based on the summer program is not the indicator. It's what the student would have been had you participated in the National School Lunch Program.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not CEP and you're not provision, the students who filled out applications during registration and the direct certification imports that you made, those students would be the ones who are reported as free or reduced this year.
And
who feels? Go ahead.
I was just going to add on to that. that there is an overissuance clause this time with PEBT. So in the event that someone receives benefits that they are not eligible for, we as the state will have to do our best to recoup those benefits. So please make sure that you're only including the NSLP eligible children. We definitely don't want to have to go after people that we've issued benefits to incorrectly.
And I think that answers, Allison, your question. Only the free and reduced students, not the paid students. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Who fills out the survey? That's a district decision. It is not necessarily the role of the SFSA. In fact, you may not have as much information on who was virtual, what numbers were in hybrid, what numbers were in classrooms as someone at the district office. So, again, it's y'all's decision or the district's decision, but the principals or like your chief academic officer would be highly qualified to fill out the survey on number of days and which learning model the school was doing. The MSIS coordinators have been asked to upload the survey. We know that you'll have to get the free and reduced information to them. They have the official information on those students though. They have the official address, the parents' name, the parents' address, things you may not have in your free and reduced eligibility package. So send your information to the MSIS coordinator. They'll merge it with the much more demographic information they have. And then we hope that MSIS coordinator will be the one uploading it to the SharePoint site. There was a question about starting late. If it was due to COVID and it was more than five days or more, yeah, that would qualify. And again, mark it on the survey. There was a question from Karen H about will they know if their school or district is eligible? DHS, I don't know if there was a feedback piece included. Rob, y'all still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I lost you there for a minute.
You mulling that one over?
No, I lost you. I didn't hear the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was in the chat. And I apologize, guys. We have been having AT&T issues for the last 3 days. So if we cut out, that's why. There was a question, will the district get feedback to know if the school or district was eligible?
Well, we hadn't talked about that.
We'll take that one under advisement.
Yeah, we'll take that under advisement. I mean, I think that would be a good thing to do, but I just need to make sure that that's viable.
I see the benefit in that. You guys, if the SFA's got questions, they would know. But yeah, it was not built in necessarily to the mechanism. But as a combination, we'll see what we can do to give you information. For provision, yes, everyone in a provision school for lunch. If you're provision for breakfast only, that is not all free. Go off your applications. But if you're provision 2 or 3 for lunch, everyone gets uploaded. CEP districts, yes, upload all students in the district. If the whole district is CEP, if only some schools are, those schools will be the one.
Yeah.
And Rob and Brianne, I'm sorry to punt to you guys. I hate to say it, I don't remember off the cuff. We've been in this so much. If the 1920 rollover data, I think they can use the 1920 rollover, but I wanted to see if you guys wanted to weigh in on that.
FNS said that we had to use the best information that was available, right?
if you're going to use 1920 data, the seniors that graduated in May or June of 2020 have to be removed, and you have to add any eligible kindergartners and any eligible children that may have moved into the district this year.
For the recent school year, for the 2021 school year.
Yeah, we can't issue to seniors that graduated in 2020.
No.
And Karen H., I'm sorry, I can't see the survey right now. It's not something I've got. My screens are filled. I know that the students have to be reported by school because the benefits are issued by school. I think they come in on one spreadsheet and they have a school number assigned to them. But my advice to you is look at the instructions for the spreadsheet. It's spelled out there. And I'm sorry, I just can't get to look at them right now.
The way, and this is MDHS, so this may be not the way you wanted to do it, Scott, but we were just envisioning the schools submitting the files to the district, and then the district, having visibility on the files, and then forwarding those, either compiling them or doing them individually and sending them onto the MDE servers. But we will need school level data.
Yeah, they'll have to be flagged by school, and either if it's one Excel, they'll be flagged by school. And I think that's the way it comes across, but I just can't see the instructions right now. I'm sorry, guys.
Vanessa, I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, and this is repeating what we just had, but just making sure we're all on the same page. If you need to use the 1920 data, yes, you would add new students for 2021, like kindergartners who came into the system, students who transferred in. You can add those, but subtract your ones who graduated before the school year began. Go ahead, sir. What you got, Rob?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, I'm glad somebody had SAM information because I'm sorry, I don't work in SAM, so that's a lost one with me. April, you see any hands up?
I got I don't think you answered Reagan already there, Scott. Just to confirm, hang on. I lost the question. Oh man.
I found it, Rob. You want me to read it out to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to confirm, our schools started later than were originally planned on the 2021 school calendar. That satisfies the 5-day requirement. All of our schools would be eligible, ? Will benefits vary depending on the number of days the specific school is affected?
So all of your schools will be eligible because if every school had a delayed start in your district. Then we'd have to look at how many of your children were learning remotely versus in person. And if you have a higher number of children that are learning remotely, then every child in the school is going to be eligible.
Every NSLP child.
Yes, thank you. So, and the reason why I want to clarify that, because you may actually have some NSLP children who were in school in person. But if 51% of the other kids were at home, then that child that was in a seat and receiving a lunch will be eligible and they will get PEBT benefits. So it's a matter of whether or not you had at least 51% remote. The amount that they will be eligible for will be based on whether you had more hybrid children or children learning in the hybrid mode or more children learning virtually. I hope that clarifies things and doesn't.
And I'll get up in the weeds just a little bit in that USDA is using, I think their term is simplified assumptions. Is that right?
That's right.
And the reason being, we know so many schools had to close for a short period of time or bounced in and out of virtual or hybrid. So schools, the reality is tracking down, even in Mississippi, 1,000 schools, what happened on an almost week-to-week basis is just not feasible. So that's why you get those issues, as Brianne just mentioned. That child may have been sitting there and still get benefits, but it's based on the number of children who didn't get benefits. So yeah, so report all your free kids, even if they were in session and the others weren't, because they have to use those kind of simplified assumptions, or else we can never put this program together. It's just too many moving pieces and too many questions out there. And let's see, Tanette, you have your hand raised. If you'll unmute yourself, ask your question, we'll do our best with it. I feel like a radio calling us. I may have lost her. Well, she lowered her hand, so I guess she got her question answered. Carolyn Barber, if you have a question, feel free to ask away.
Okay, we had some, like our primary school, that it would just be a class of students that was out 5 consecutive days for COVID. Are those children, do they qualify?
It's going to be the primary learning mode. So if it's only one class out of 20 and everybody else is still in seats, your primary learning mode is still going to be in person. Now I'll let, if Brianne, if y'all want to say anything about reduced attendance, this might be a good time to chip in. I'm not as skilled on that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you only had one class, if you had only one class that was sent home, then you're not going to have enough. Now, if I think I saw an email that came through, a question that came through earlier that said, well, we shortened our day by 45 minutes for the entire school year. So in that kind of situation, based on the way that I understand this program, your school would be eligible with the contingency that you also have to meet that you had at least 51% of children in a virtual or hybrid learning mode. So it's kind of this last time it was a simple, if you were closed for 5 days and then every child received. This year you have 2 hurdles you have to meet, with the first one being, were you delayed or closed or had reduced hours or attendance, and if you for 5 days, and if you can say yes to that one, then we move to what kind of learning mode was your predominant learning mode, and then from there, that's where we're actually going to be determining the eligibility.
Okay, thank you.
Did that answer and make sense, Carolyn?
It does. It does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Harris, you had your hand up. Ashley, you with us? Okay. Kim, you got a question. It looks like Ashley pulled hers back.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Our district operated during first semester where we did 1 day a week or more, but usually 1 day a week, the entire district did distance learning. And in my opinion, that meets the definition of hybrid, because all students most students were in person 4 days of the week, and then students were for distance learning 1 day of the week. In my opinion, that meets the definition of hybrid. Do you agree?
I'm gonna let DHS weigh in on that one. I'll talk to you about free and reduced eligibility.
Hang on, we're mulling that one over.
I'm fairly certain that when we had to put our calendars in MSIS, that was classified as hybrid.
Yeah, we're tending to agree with you, but we don't want to say for sure until we confirm that with the FNS guidance.
If you would, shoot that question in writing to Rob or Brianne or both, and they can get back with you directly on your specifics. How's that?
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Pam Kirby?
Okay, I have a quick question, please. Once a school is determined to be eligible, do we pull just the free and reduced students or the entire school population?
Free and reduced students. Free and reduced students.
Just free and reduced students. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Mhm. And yes, the great thing about the survey is it's pretty simple. You tell which month that first started, you indicate which months you were hybrid, etc. And then DHS and their contractor will make the determination and provide the benefits accordingly. Sorry, I was answering a question in the chat as though y'all all saw it. There was kind of a complex question about a child had gone up a grade into another school.
Period of closure.
And
So is that child going, as far as the MSIS file or whatever the file is that you guys are collecting, is that child going to be in the eighth grade school file or in the ninth grade school file?
yeah, they should be in the file of the school that they're in currently.
So that would be in the ninth grade school.
Right, and then they can still be reported as free, but by the same token, if that school is ineligible, no students in that school will receive benefits because of the way, DHS is going to sort out the schools that are eligible and then compare it to the students who are eligible.
But that would be the eighth grade school that was not eligible. So she's saying is the child, since he or she is in ninth grade now, the ninth grade school was eligible. So yeah, I would say that the ninth grader would be eligible.
I'm going to back up the slides here. We had a question for, there we go. There's contact information for our folks at DHS, if that helps you. We'll post, like I say, we'll post this to the web, but there's a slight delay. They have to take it to the technology people process it because we're in Teams as opposed to the normal GoToWebinar format. So if you need these, take a picture of your screens or write it down real quick and you'll have it for later. You can always contact us and we'll be happy to forward information or shoot your email addresses back. We seem to have wound down on most of our questions. I wish we had every answer for you. I think we had a fair number for you today. I think we got the big ones covered. All your CEP kids, all your students in Provision 2 and 3 lunch schools, only your free and reduced students, not everybody, not your paid students in pricing schools. And then some good information from DHS on the survey and how that's going to sort out. So with that, we're going to wrap today up. Feel free to contact whoever you need to out of these different points of contact, myself, Rob or Brianne, or the MDNet for SharePoint problems. And at least the Office of Child Nutrition, will see you next Thursday for transitioning to seamless supper option. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, DHS, for being our partners on this one. And we will see everybody soon. Have a great day.
Hey, this is Rob. Thank y'all so much. And we'll try and get your questions answered as soon as we can. We appreciate your help and assistance with this. And obviously, you know, our goal is to get this benefit out to as many of the children as we can. So thank you for the assistance in helping us get that done.